How to Train Your Dragon. Once upon a time, in a remote and storm-swept archipelago of islands, there lived a young Viking named Hiccup. Hiccup was the son of Stoic the Vast, the chief of the Hooligan tribe. The Hooligans were a tough and fearless bunch of Vikings, whose main occupation was to fight against dragons. Dragons were a constant threat to the Vikings. They would swoop down from the sky, burn houses with their fiery breath, and steal livestock. Every day was a battle for the Vikings to protect their homes and families from these winged beasts. Hiccup, however, was different from the other Vikings. He was scrawny and not as strong as his peers, but he was incredibly smart and curious. He spent a lot of time observing the dragons from afar, trying to understand their behavior. One night, during a fierce dragon raid, Hiccup managed to shoot down a mysterious dragon with a new kind of weapon he had invented. This dragon was not like any other. It was a night fury, the rarest and most feared dragon in the world. Its scales were as black as the night, and it could fly at an astonishing speed. When Hiccup found the downed night fury in the forest, he was both excited and scared. He expected it to be a ferocious monster, but to his surprise, the dragon was injured and trapped in his net. Instead of attacking Hiccup, it looked at him with big, green eyes full of fear. Hiccup decided to set the dragon free, but as he was cutting the net, the dragon suddenly woke up and lashed out at him. Hiccup was too slow to dodge, and the dragon's tail hit him hard, knocking him to the ground. But Hiccup didn't give up. He knew that the dragon was just scared and in pain. Over the next few days, Hiccup secretly visited the dragon in the forest. He brought it fish to eat and tried to befriend it. At first, the dragon was very wary of him, but gradually, it started to trust Hiccup. Hiccup named the dragon Toothless, because one of its teeth had been knocked out by his weapon. Hiccup discovered that Toothless was not a mindless killer. It had its own personality and emotions. It could be playful and gentle, just like a pet. Hiccup taught Toothless some simple tricks, and Toothless showed Hiccup how to fly on its back. Flying on Toothless's back was an amazing experience for Hiccup. He felt free and alive, soaring through the clouds. Meanwhile, back in the village, Stoic was worried about Hiccup. He wanted Hiccup to become a real Viking, to learn how to fight dragons like the rest of them. He signed Hiccup up for dragon training classes, led by Gobber, an experienced blacksmith and dragon fighting instructor. In the training classes, Hiccup was still clumsy and unskilled compared to his classmates, but he used his knowledge of dragons, which he had gained from his time with Toothless, to his advantage. He was able to predict the dragon's moves and avoid their attacks. One day, Hiccup's classmates discovered his secret about Toothless. They were shocked and angry. They thought Hiccup was a traitor for befriending a dragon. They reported him to Stoic. Stoic was furious. He couldn't believe that his son had been fraternizing with the enemy. He ordered Hiccup to take him to Toothless so that they could kill it once and for all. When they reached the forest, Toothless was waiting for Hiccup, but when it saw Stoic and the other Vikings with their weapons, it got scared and flew away. Hiccup tried to stop his father, but Stoic was determined to kill the dragon. A big battle ensued. The other Vikings released their trained dragons to chase Toothless. Hiccup was heartbroken. He didn't want Toothless to be hurt, and he also didn't want to fight against his father and the other Vikings. In the middle of the battle, Hiccup realized that there was a way to end the war between the Vikings and the dragons. He knew that the dragons were only attacking the Vikings because they were being controlled by a huge and powerful dragon, the Red Death. The Red Death was like a queen, and the other dragons were its slaves. Hiccup and Toothless decided to go on a dangerous mission to find the Red Death's lair. They flew deep into the mountains, facing many challenges along the way. When they finally found the lair, it was a terrifying sight. The Red Death was huge, bigger than any building in the village. Hiccup and Toothless came up with a plan. They lured the Red Death out of its lair and into the sky. Then, they used the other dragon's loyalty to the Red Death against it. They made the other dragons turn on the Red Death, and together, they defeated the evil dragon. Back in the village, the Vikings were amazed to see Hiccup and Toothless leading the other dragons. They realized that the dragons were not their enemies after all. From that day on, the Vikings and the dragons lived in peace. The story of Hiccup and Toothless teaches us that we should not judge others based on their appearance or what we think we know about them. Dragons were once seen as monsters by the Vikings, but Hiccup was able to look beyond that and see the good in them. We should also be brave enough to stand up for what we believe in, even if it goes against the norm. Hiccup didn't follow the traditional way of fighting dragons. Instead, he chose to befriend them, and in the end, he brought peace to his village. This shows that kindness and understanding can often achieve more than violence and hatred.